Hello and welcome to episode 45 of Columbus Local Podcast. This evening we have songwriter, singer, band leader, Mike Preisser. Mike, how are you today?
Good, Lynn. Thank you so much, and thanks for having me. It's a kind of honor to be here with you. Very proud to be a member of our wonderful Central Ohio music community, and thanks for you doing what you do.
Oh, it's all good, man. You know, and you're definitely a pillar in the music community. I know you're involved in your solo project where you're singing and playing guitar, but also your big rolling train, if you will, has been your band, The Trains, right?
Yeah, it's been great. We've been together about 15 years now. We've had a lot of members come and go, but the train just keeps rolling on. We play, I don't know, a couple, 2-3 times a month now, and it's comfortable. Getting a little older, so it's a little hard to get to play it every weekend anymore.
Yeah, no, I feel that. but I also know too. You know, you've got a really good stronghold with some great venues. You know, the Blacklick area, Gahanna. You're on the east side. Are you an east side guy?
Well, I grew up in the Northland area, but I've lived on the east side now, for the past 20, 25 years or so. And yeah, there's a lot of great music venues out on the east side. So I live in Groveport, so it's easier for me to get to those types of places. And there's a lot of great places out on the east side and out at the lake and whatnot. So it's great.
It's all good. And everybody, you know, knows the Trains. You know, you get a kind of a stronghold in these classic venues. I know Gatsby's, working with the Stadler brothers, and
Right.
I'm sure we'll cover a lot of some of that. But with you currently, you've got a bunch of gigs lined up, don't you, this year in 2024?
Well, we try to. At one time, we were playing over 70 gigs a year, and it got to be a little bit of a strain on personal time and whatnot. So we're between maybe 25, 30 gigs a year. We play at Gatsby's once a month. Love playing there. The closeness and people, really dancing and listening to you and being on top of you, being very interactive. It's a fun place to play, both outside on the patio during the summer and on the inside during the colder times of year.
Absolutely. And isn't it interesting, too, that the Gatsby's, that do what you just said, whether you're on the patio in the summer or you're inside, is the vibe is very much alive there.
Yeah, it's very interactive. It's a lot of fun to play there.
Yeah.
And Doug and his staff do an amazing job of, the food is wonderful and the staff is just amazing.
No, for sure. You are have been a long-term Columbus resident, obviously, but where are you originally from?
Well, I was born in Quebec, Canada, and I was adopted as a baby by some great people from a farming community just south of Chicago in the Illinois area. And my father worked for Sears for 35 years, and he got transferred to Columbus. And ironically, he went before us in the car. We had one car, like many families did back in the mid-'60s. And my mother, stayed at home and worked. So he worked at Sears. He went ahead, got us a place to live, and then we all came to Columbus on the train, ironically enough.
That's cool. Is that the origin of your band's name?
Well, I think that has something to do with it. And also kind of the rolling rhythmic nature of the sound of a train. If you go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, they have a video about rock and roll being kind of originated from the sound of the tracks and the sound of the train. And so a lot of that, has to do with our rolling rhythmic type of music that we play, the kind of dance rock stuff that we do. And so I thought it was an appropriate name to use.
It's good stuff, for sure.
I looked it up on the internet. I thought, well, there's got to be other bands called this. And just the Trains, a lot of people have Train in their name, but not so much The Train. So it worked. And Train, the band out of San Francisco at the time, was kind of, when I first named the band that, were kind of had gone away, and then they came back with that very popular song, and then they became more popular. So,
Very good.
but it works.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it absolutely works. It's almost a brand in Columbus, you know.
Right.
We're going to see the trains, going to party with the trains. You mentioned the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Somebody once told me that you are a member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame up in Cleveland.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I went up there, I paid my membership dues, I got a T-shirt and a membership card, and I'm good to go. I mean, you should join.
So that's it?
Yeah, I'm officially a member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
You don't have an acoustic guitar on the wall or a microphone or anything?
No, no.
But you are a member.
I'm a member, and if you just join and pay your dues, and they'll give you a T-shirt and tell you you're a member of the Hall of Fame. So.
Oh man, I got to go up there and I got to check that out.
I know. It's not as hard as you think to become a member of the Hall of Fame up there in rock and roll.
Probably there's an online option, I'm sure, right?
Exactly. You can. You don't even have to go up there. You can probably just do it right from the comfort of your own home.
Oh my gosh. So, did music start for you when you were young?
Well, I've always had a kind of a song in my head, and I've always loved music. And with me, it's kind of sports and music. And being adopted, you don't really have an identity, so to speak, of where you're from or what you do. So I was always trying to challenge myself about, what I was and what I could be. And remember back my dad had this album, Johnny Rivers Rocks the Folk. And I thought, man, I need a guitar, and I really want to I sang along to that, wore that record out. And then later in high school, I got an album, a four album set of Motown 64. And I just wore that thing out, and I really just loved that whole Motown sound. And a lot of that is carried over to my association with music.
I think that definitely kind of connects the dots. If you go see the Trains or see your solo act, that's kind of your wheelhouse, I'm sure, DNA wise, right?
Well, I just love that rhythmic music. People ask me, do you like rock and roll? I said, well, I like the roll part of rock and roll. I just love the rhythmic sounds and the riffs and all of the stuff that just makes you move your feet and wants you to sing along. So with our band, we have a kind of a motto that says, first of all, if we're picking songs, we have to pick songs people know. Secondly, we have to pick songs people want to dance to. And thirdly, we got to pick some songs that the singer can sing, because he's kind of limited in what he can do. So it's worked out for us, and we try to keep the party going wherever we play with a good mixture of both slow and fast songs.
Yeah, but at this point, though, like how big is your repertoire of songs? How many roughly are you thinking you have?
Well, it kind of depends on the people. I've had 17 versions of this band, and people come and people go, and people bring their unique perspective and unique talent to what we do. We've been so fortunate to have some amazing musicians that I've been privileged to work with, and they bring their style and their songs, and we try to accommodate what people are good at. And if we can do that, then we're going to be a better band for it. And I try to find people that have common interests in music selection, and it's worked out for us so far.
So far, I'll say 17 years. Did you say 17 years?
Well, 2009 is when we started. When we started, I was in a band back in the early '80s called Ransom, and it was, we played down on campus, and we did some stuff. And Eric Thomas was the leader of that band. He's an amazing guitar player, and his wife Bonnie was a keyboardist and vocalist, and we had a wide variety of songs. At the time, we were doing stuff that had just come out on the radio, like the Motels and the Rolling Stones and other stuff back in the '80s. And we're still playing those same songs today. They were new back then, but now they're nostalgic, so to speak, and it's fun to play songs that people can have fun with. So that's kind of how we determine how we pick songs.
Yeah, that's a good formula. It's good stuff. As far as the Trains are concerned, you're playing stuff that not all the bands are playing, which is kind of differentiates you guys from using the model you just described from anything else that's going on out there.
Well, most of our music is centered around the dance stuff from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and we do some newer country stuff and whatnot to kind of bring other aspects of the band in. We just got a great new keyboard player named Tim Avery. Tim's a younger guy that brings a lot of energy, and he's a concert pianist by trade, and he also an IT guy, which helps a lot in being able to put songs together. And of course, our lead guitar player, Steve Rich, and his son Steven on drums. As a family, they're so tight and together. And with Neil Young on bass, it really is one of the tightest bands we've had, and we have a lot of fun with it.
And yes, his name is Neil Young, right?
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Does that come into play with some fun stuff that you kind of have with your other players? When Neil, the guy named by Neil Young, joined the band, anything crazy happen there with the guys?
Well, we have a mutual friend. I have a friend called his name is Alan Duffy, and Alan is kind of like a Neil Young artist. He sounds exactly like Neil Young, does all Neil Young songs, and he opened for us once at Gatsby's. And I told Alan didn't know Neil, the bass player in our band. And I went over to him and I said, Alan, I don't know how to tell you this, but there's a really good chance that Neil Young himself might be here tonight. And he's like, really? I said, yeah, I can almost guarantee that Neil Young will be here tonight. So that was kind of fun.
And it was probably funner when he did show up.
Yeah. Well, he kind of knew the joke after a while, but it was pretty funny to see the look on his face when I told him that.
That's all good, man. So you came to Columbus. Did you have siblings when you grew up?
Like I said, I was adopted from an orphanage in Quebec, and my parents went back and got my brother and sister from the same orphanage a year and 3 years after they had gotten me. So I grew up with them, and about 20 years ago, I decided I wanted to find my birth parents. So I went through Ancestry.com and 23andMe and did all of the things, and I contacted the social service people up in Canada, and they located my mother. Unfortunately, she had not told anyone about me and couldn't have contact because she was afraid of, repercussions from all of that. And she passed away, and I was able to find her obituary, and in the obituary, it kind of lists the siblings. And I was able to find all the siblings on Facebook. And,
oh my gosh.
And I managed to pick one of the siblings out. There were 6 of them on my mother's side, and sent a letter up with a cousin of mine that was also I met through Ancestry, and he hand-delivered a letter to her, and she eventually called me, and I got to meet her about a month or so ago. She came down to visit. It was amazing.
Oh my gosh! Congratulations.
Yeah, that's fun.
That's very, very blessed.
Yeah, it's quite a story, and she actually plays guitar and sings also. So that was fun. That was a surprise, a nice surprise.
Absolutely. Wow. And is she located in Canada currently? Yeah.
There's 6 more on my mother's side, and there's 5 more on my birth father's side. It took me a while to find my birth father, but I figured that one out through DNA and whatnot, and 2 of them took the DNA test as well to prove it. And so there's 5 on that side, 6 on my mother's side, and 2 adopted brothers and sisters. So I wind up being the oldest of 14 in my family.
Wow. And this is all within the last couple of years?
Yeah. Well, my mother, I had found her maybe 10, 15 years ago. She passed away at age 69. My birth father had passed away at age 64. He was a Greyhound bus driver, and she was a homemaker. And I think they probably met at a diner somewhere where she was a waitress and he was a bus driver. And no one will know the story from there other than me.
Yeah, understood.
The existence of me, that is.
Understood.
Yeah.
But, wow, what a wonderful blessing for you to be able to find all that. And
yeah, they've been very
time.
welcoming, and it's been a wonderful thing.
Oh man, I feel that's awesome for you. And
I've met 4 of them. I had my brother on my father's side and a sister on my father's side. My brother on my father's side came down to meet me in where we live here in Groveport, and I went down to Orlando. My sister's family took a vacation down there, and I went down there and met some friends of mine in the Tampa area, and then drove over and met them for dinner. So it was great. And then a month or so ago, on my mother's side, my brother and sister came down together and spent a little time with us, and it was amazing. It was wonderful.
That is wonderful. Well, thanks for sharing that too, Mike. Really, it's got to be. How do you feel? How does it make you feel?
Well, it kind of answers a lot of questions for you.
Sure.
Helps you kind of put together the pieces of the identity that you've been looking for all this time. But you just have to keep. I'm very curious and I like learning new things, and it's my curiosity that drove me to actually find them. So it's worked out really well.
Yeah. When you were growing up, though, how did music get to you, or did you pursue that? What was inspiring you to?
Well, I always loved I used to go to. There was a department store near my house that I lived in Forest Park up in the Northland area of Columbus, and there was a department store called Hart's. And I used to go to Hart's all the time, and Hart's would have a record section, and they'd have these little slips of paper that what the top 40 was for that week. So I would take that piece of paper home, and I would listen to the radio, and I would just check off the songs as I heard them, and that got to be fun. And every extra nickel I had went to a 45 or a bag of wiffle balls, because I love sports as well.
It's funny you bring that up with Hearts. I followed that same little pattern, early on. Hearts,
Yeah.
is a big part of discovering music for a lot of us, because there was no internet back then. There was no Facebook. There's no phones. We're on our bikes in the early part of the day going to the mall.
Exactly. Well, Forest Park was a great community to grow up in.
Yeah.
I think the last records I bought at Hart's were like 77 cents for a 45, I think, is what it was. I think it started off at like 59 cents, and it went up to 77 cents, and it almost broke the bank for me.
For sure. Yeah, I get that. I can relate.
I never forget.
Do you still have your collection of 45s?
I have some, but in the move, and I think I had one of those Peaches crates that you kept all your albums in. I think it rained and it got all my albums wet. And I figured, well, anymore today, it's easier to get the skips out of everything by just looking at stuff online or downloading CDs
or even streaming these days.
Whatever it is, yeah. I remember one record by the Guess Who. They had American Woman on one side of the 45 and No Sugar Tonight was on the B side. And I thought, what a deal. That's like getting 2 for 1.
Absolutely. Well, they had lots of hits, though, man. It's good. That's a good one, though.
They did. I love his voice.
So, who were your favorites? Kind of inspiring you to get you to sing.
Well, I never had any formal lessons. I listened to the radio and I tried to imitate what I heard on the radio, and I'd record myself on a cassette player and see how close I was and try to fix it from there. I've always been, kind of blessed to have a kind of maybe a good ear. I don't know. I mean, people say I sing in tune most of the time, but I don't know. I love Elvis's voice, and I just love the voices, even the female voices like Tina Turner and Barbra Streisand, and of course, Clayton Thomas of that band, and just a lot of great voices that I really just love listening to.
Yeah, and as you said too, you're a curious guy. You're reaching and you're growing all the time, and you still are today.
Well,
that's cool.
I started to keep a diary of the band when we first got started. I got back into it because a friend of mine invited me over to the Moose Lodge in Gahanna, and they had a moose band there that they were going to play the annual picnic with. And I told my friends, they said, well, we need a singer. The singer we have isn't, going to be able to do the show. And I said, okay, well, I can do that. And so we rehearsed down in the embalming room at the Gahanna Moose, because it used to be a funeral home. So that was a little creepy, but we got to do the gig. And then after the gig, some of the guys wanted to move forward, and I kind of put together a portfolio that said, I think, we could do this kind of music, and we could call ourselves the Trains, and we could, maybe get some bookings and do some things. And so a lot of the guys were into it, but the guitar player, he didn't want to, play the kind of music that I had suggested playing. And so we had got a couple other guys, and we rehearsed for 6 months before we had a gig at the Dolphin Lounge to kick off the Trains. And because they'd anticipated it for so many months, we had a really great crowd. And Lori, who's amazing at the Dolphin Lounge, and I'm so grateful to her for the opportunity that she gives people like starting bands and other people to be able to showcase their talent. And she wanted us back, and I was so excited. We had got basically filled the place with friends that had been anticipating us playing there. And I went to the band and I said, "Hey guys, we got 2 more gigs," and 3 of the guys decided they didn't want to do that anymore. So we'd practiced for 6 months and we played 1 gig, and then.
Wow, it was at the world famous Dolphin Lounge.
Exactly.
I share your enthusiasm with that place
yes,
too, man.
Yes, it's a wonderful place, and Lori is she just, as a matter of fact, I think she just elected into the Blues Hall of Fame. So
Yep,
that's
she
Columbus
was.
Blues Hall of Fame. So that's an amazing honor for her, and I'm so happy for her. But we had to then put the band together because we had a gig in 2 months. We practiced for 6 months to play 1 gig, and then we had 2 more months to be able to play the show from 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. 5 sets.
It's awesome, though.
Yeah.
Well, when you're got your project, your band, you want to play, man. You want to play, and you'll take that 5-hour gig anytime, man.
Well, everybody has their story about how they got started, and ours probably isn't different than a lot of people. You got to get out there and hustle a little bit and try to convince people that you do that. We were playing at a place, I can't remember the name of it when we played there, but it became Sticks and Stones over there in Reynoldsburg, and I had a friend of mine that I worked at Rockwell with as an engineer, and he owned Doolin's over there in Pickerington, and he came out and saw us, and we got a chance to play at Doolin's, and then Doug gave us a chance at Gatsby's, and everything just kind of went from there.
Yeah, those guys are the ones that you always, I think, appreciate, and it hangs on for a while. And I think you're a lot like me in that you want to give back to the folks too, and just share your appreciation. And part of that is to continue to give yourself and your skills and your band, your projects to those venues, because it's all part of the community. The venue owners, along with the talent and the bands and musicians that play, it's all the same, gratefulness that keeps that machine rolling,
Sure. I just love being part of this community, and I love the people in this community, including yourself, Lynn. I've known you for a little bit now. Yeah. And it's just amazing the amount of people, the kind of people that are in the music business here in Columbus are all, if it weren't for musicians, we'd only have half a crowd that we have, because we all try to support one another. We all try to be there for one another, and my friends have been there for me, and I try to be there for them. I go to a lot of different open mics and participate and learn in people, and that's how you learn too. Not only do you get to associate with like-minded people, but you also learn from the talent and everything that they have too. And we have so much talent in this town. It's just amazing that. You can go just about anywhere in this town and see great talent on a nightly basis for free.
Right. Now, some places have a cover, but it's not a lot, and it's for the cause of continuing.
Well, you have to take your hats off to these owners, because some of them know that they're in competition with each other. They have to have live music to be able to survive against the other one, and a lot of days they make money, and some days they don't make money. And the ones that do it, you have to appreciate, the fact that they want live music.
I agree with you totally. It's all good there.
Yeah. Well, without them, what were we going to play?
Yeah, and when you get introduced to people too, like in the case of yourself. I mean, I'll give a shout out to Mr. Perot.
Oh yes.
Mr. Perot, I say Mr. Perot because for some reason I can't remember his first
Jason.
name. Jason Perot. Sorry, Jason. If you, I don't know if he's listening to this or not, but Jason Perot, just a real solid bass player, good guy.
Yeah.
We were doing a music project together, and I don't know that I would ever be able to have the opportunity to meet you, for example, Mike, if it weren't for Jason.
Sure.
You know, and Jason, I think had some experience with the trains.
Yeah, Jason was one of our first bass players, and Jason helped us get going. He was very knowledgeable about what he was doing. He was very helpful, and he knew people that helped us also. And I was out there to support him as well, and it was great having him with us.
Yeah, he's one of those not the spoke, but the hub of a lot of resource.
You got to have a good rhythm section if you're going to have a good band. There's just no doubt about it. The bass player and the drummer, they got to be in sync, and if you get that going, there's a lot of things you can build around that.
Yeah, that's for sure. I don't know if there's any other aspects that you may have taken note of that you'd like to bring to light, Mike, or not, but. I just want to pause and see if there's anything you want to kind of pull through.
Well, I'd like to thank the bands also and a lot of the solo artists that donate their time to charity. It's a very important part of what we do. I know AJ does his big Buckeye Cruise for Cancer. That's coming up at Cardo's here, and that's always a big success. I had a experience.
That's AJ Angelo, right?
Yeah, AJ Angelo. I'm sorry. Yeah,
yep.
And he. Back in 2013, I had a friend of mine who had breast cancer, and they did a thing for her at Gatsby's, and I thought, you know what, I can do that too. And then I had a girl I was seeing at the time come down with the same thing, and I thought, you know what, I want to pool the musician friends I know, the Jack with Rick Ayers and his group, and Michael Doctor and these guys live, and the Trains. We put on 3 straight years of a cancer benefit at Screamin' Willie's, and we called it Bands for Love. And it was a huge success, a lot of support from people, a lot of fun, and we were able to donate quite a bit of money to the Stephanie Spielman Fund there at OSU, and it was a labor of love for me, and it was amazing the cooperation and the teamwork and everything that went into that, charitable event. So I just wanted to, talk about the role of musicians in the charitable causes here in Central Ohio as well.
Absolutely, and acknowledge that that contribution and the fact that it's really, really, really a wonderful gesture and productive gesture to take on something like you just described.
Well, I think it's important to give back. The community gives us so much, and it's important to give back, just like you're doing with these podcasts, Lynn. I mean, you're spreading the word and getting, and I've listened to several of them, especially the ones that were my friends that you've done with. And it's great to hear the different perspectives of people and how they started out and what their experiences have been. And the people that aren't musicians that come out and see us is also just part of what's so important. And I'm hoping that they're going to, listen to these podcasts. And I know that they're so interested in Central Ohio music. I know that they're going to really learn a lot and be able to be a bigger part of this community, and that's so important.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. The people that come out and support the venues and the bands, and are in love with the material, and just allowing ourselves to feel whatever it is that we feel when we go see our friends and the folks that we know.
Well, exactly. I mean, without them and without their support, I mean. We'd all
be in that embalming room, right? trying to
we'd all be trying to figure out
by ourselves.
Who was in here last week. I know.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah.
So and every new friend I make through this is just a blessing, and I love everyone that comes to see us, and I love everyone that comes to see other bands. I try to get out and see as many as I can, because I'm constantly learning and I'm constantly appreciating what people do, and it's just a blessing.
And has it always been as easy as it seems when you come to a trains. I mean, where were you actually playing when you were first starting out? Were you in the high street scene, or were you in?
Well, back in the '80s, we were playing on campus and in different places there, and we would play with 2 or 3 other acts, and we'd have 10 or 15 songs we would do, and it was all new and fresh, and I was just learning myself. And then I had 3 babies in a year, and that kind of curtailed my. So I took a 23-year break before I was at the Moose in Gahanna when somebody volunteered me to get back into the music. And with 17 versions of the band, I'd kept a diary, and I was going to write a book saying, "So you think you want to start a band?" And it's a very difficult thing to go through. There's highs, there's lows, but I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, I've taken a stab at, and I've run a couple bands in the past, and it's a lot of work. I don't know that I could write it. I could never write the book that you could.
Well, it's hard to carry that briefcase, People always say, "Well, you're carrying the briefcase," so it's not easy to do. You have to work with the owners. You have to coordinate the set list. You have to make sure everybody is on rehearsal on time and all the gigs that they're there on time, and coordinating all of the things that they're going to run into when they get there. So it's there's a lot to it, but there's a lot of wonderful places to play, and there's a lot of wonderful people to be around.
Always a good time, and we'll make sure that we post some of your links. I know you have presence out there somewhere in cyberspace, Mike, but I want to make sure that people really get an opportunity to see the trains, because you guys are unique.
Well, thank you.
Your set list is unique, and the talent is top shelf always.
Well, I appreciate that. It's a building process, and I had a friend of mine say to me, "Mike, it seems like every time you add a different person, the band just seems to be a little bit better." And I said, "Well," thank you. That's a nice compliment. I also want to mention I got a project. In addition to the solo work that I've been trying to do and the venues that I've been doing, I got I played at a place called Jay's Crab Boil and Oyster Bar in Pickerington last summer, and the owner asked me if I wouldn't book some local talent for him at that place this coming summer, and I was able to, rally all my friends around and get them booked. And so we're going to have a nice concert series of solo artists and duos and some trios on the outdoor patio there at Jay's Crab Boil and Oyster Bar in Pickerington, right kind of in front of the movie theater there on Hill Road 256. So that starts mid-May. And we're also going to do another thing I hope will catch on. It's instead of an open mic scenario, it's kind of like a spotlight star. So I'm looking for up-and-coming artists that want to do a 30-minute set and bring their family and friends out and to be able to, you got to start somewhere. So most of these open mics are, play 3 songs or 15 minutes, and this will be and then you have to get there early enough to sign up, and then go on maybe 2 or 3 hours later. And this way, you have a 30-minute set. They have a set time, and I'm hoping it'll catch off. We're calling it the Spotlight Showcase. It'll be once a month on a Tuesday starting in May. So it'll be fun out there at Jay's Crab Boil. And if you've never eaten out there, it's amazing seafood, amazing.
Yeah, we'll have Beth and I love seafood.
They have other stuff on the menu that's great too.
Yeah,
but the seafood is crazy.
We'll hit the boil.
Yeah,
I'm sure. And I think we've I don't know, we've been to that particular location, but food definitely great. But what you're doing there in the patio, that sounds wonderful for anyone looking to. Do what you describe and have that opportunity to do your 3 songs that, or at least 3 of the 5 that
Well, this would be you'd have a 30-minute set.
Oh, so, nice.
Yeah, so it's rather than having your friends and family come out and watch you do 15 minutes, they get to come out and watch you do 30 minutes at a preset time, and so I hopefully it'll go over well. So on Friday and Saturday nights this summer, we're going to have all of the top local acts, because he had mentioned to me that a lot of the acts he had from last year weren't local acts, and he was having a hard time getting people interested in seeing some of these people that they hadn't heard of. And so I went to my friends, and they were very, very they wanted to do it not only for themselves but for me, and that really warms my heart when I hear people want to be able to contribute based on my friendship with them.
Well, I mean, you're a sweetheart of a guy. How can you be denied?
I don't know. Sometimes when the PA isn't working right, you can see some looks on my face. But,
So that's an interesting thing to note too, right? So a lot of bands will hire sound, right? In your case, who's managing your sound most of the time?
well, my instrument with the band is the PA, so.
You're
So I
running
get
sound
there.
for
So
your
I'm the
band.
first one there and the last one to leave because I have to set it up and tear it down. But thank goodness that the technology has made it a lot easier. I remember back when we first started, there was separate amps and separate EQs and separate condensers and separate everything. And when something didn't go right, there were like 100 different connections. You had to figure out which one wasn't connected right. And it was a lot harder to set up and a lot harder to tear down. And I know the sound guys, like my friend Ross Davis that you did the podcast with, can attest to it. There's a lot of work involved. And in the beginning, I really didn't know a whole lot, but I've learned a whole lot since then. And technology has also made it a little bit easier.
So what is your gear? What are you running?
Well, most of what I have is EV, electro voice stuff.
Oh man.
I got 18-inch subwoofers. I got the 35P stack. So I'm running about, I don't know, 3,000 watts a side. So it's plenty for most of the places that we do. And I'm able to have friends that have asked me to help them with sound also. So not only do I run it for our own band, it's nice because with the technology today, if you have a good mix, you can save that mix at a specific venue and come back and do that without a lot of intensive sound checking and whatnot. But I also have a lot of sound men out in the crowd that are constantly telling them what they can and can't hear, so that helps.
I know I feel sorry for sound
Especially
man.
musicians,
Oh my gosh.
But it is helpful
the
most of the
sound
time.
man's how would we say that? The life of a sound man and the coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I had
there's a
all the
lot going
equipment.
on.
I figured I might as well help someone else with it as well. And I don't charge very much to do it because, we don't get in this business to make money. We get in this business to make music and make friends, and it's worked out really well for me.
Yeah, well, and you're still doing it, man.
Yep. Despite 2 hip replacements and a knee replacement and a bunch of other stuff going on with me, I'm still out there managing to stand up for 4 hours at a time.
I've said it a couple times today. Aging is not for the weak at all.
No.
But we get up every day and we still do. And I'm glad to see you're doing what you love.
Sure. And the adrenaline helps too.
Yeah, adrenaline. You still have sources of adrenaline.
Well, every now and then you get that crowd that just is really, really having a good time. And the better time they have, the better time that we have. And occasionally you get one of those nights where everything just seems to click, and it really makes you feel good for doing what you do.
It sounds like around your birthday or on your birthday, you had one of those nights recently.
Yeah, I had a great week last week. I did a solo event at Gatsby's on Thursday night, and I had about 4, 5, 6 different great musician friends come and help me with that. And then Saturday night we played at Gatsby's with the band, and I was afraid it was going to be too cold, but people came out and had a great time. And when people are having a great time, it just gives the band energy, and they somehow play better, and everything kind of clicks, and it was a great night.
Love to hear it. And I know you're going to have a lot more of those nights ahead of you.
Well, I hope so. I mean, that's why we do it. Sometimes it feels like, no one cares, and other nights it feels like everyone cares. So, you take the good with the bad.
I think you have a lot of people that follow you, Mike, and I know every one of them has to appreciate, where you've been and bringing everything forward. And, it's a fun night. It's a great night. And the music is surprising because it's so diverse.
Well, what's interesting is
I think it reflects your personality and your natural curiosity and wanting to cultivate that connection that you obviously are able to get,
Well,
especially a night the last week or two, right?
well, I appreciate that, Lynn. And again, we do it because we love doing it. That's why we do it.
Yeah, for sure. I think. Did you have some other items? I really know that that's going to be a good thing. We've mentioned some items. We'll put some links into the description of the podcast so that people can keep track of what you're doing, especially with what you got going on at the patio.
Yeah, Jay's Crab Boil and
Jay's.
Oyster Bar in Pickerington. Yeah.
Yeah. But then you also have gigs. You have solo gigs that are coming up
Yeah.
that are getting booked this year. You got the trains, obviously, that's
Sure.
still rolling. So, we want to make sure that not only can they hear this particular podcast episode and get a sense of a little bit more behind the man that makes this happen, but they can stay in touch with you as well.
Yeah, you can go to MikePreisserMusic.com and you can see all of some photos and some video and some audio and our schedule, and some pictures and other things. And we're available. The band's available. I'm available for solo gigs and have a lot of different kinds of things. Everything from nursing homes to the lake to festivals to weddings to all kinds of different things. I just try to help people with, and it's been a blessing.
Yep. And I know you've got a really good, strong relationship with a lot of the places that you have played and that you're planning to play. Are you looking for other venues? Are you looking to expand out at all?
Well, we always, it's hard to say no because when you say no to somebody, a lot of times they don't ask again. So it, like I said, I try not to say no. Sometimes we're booked and sometimes it's too far away for us to go or whatever. But I try not to say no. And we're getting a little older now, so the 75 gigs a year thing isn't going to happen anymore. But I enjoy doing it. I enjoy entertaining. I enjoy singing for the people, and the response has been just very heartwarming for me. So I really appreciate everyone.
And how rewarding that has to feel for you, not only for yourself, but I know that you currently are very happy with the trains and the friends that you are able to perform with on a regular basis. But, over the years too, there's been a lot of great musicians, and that's still holding true, obviously, with this latest rendition, right?
I try to stay in contact with them all. I try to support them all. I mean, everyone that's ever been in my band, I still have a wonderful relationship with. And I just enjoy seeing them out, and I try to support them whenever I can. And again, being part of this musical community and being part of this podcast is a very, very humbling and honored experience for me. Thank you, Lynn.
Well, Mike, I really appreciate the fact that you made the time, to come out and drive all the way downtown Columbus. And
I tell you, just the view from Lynn's balcony over the city is worth you coming here and doing a podcast with Lynn. And trust me, if Lynn asks you to do this, you have to do it.
I don't know that you have to do it.
Yes, you do.
Well, thank you for that endorsement. That means a lot to me, Mike. It means a lot that you decided you were going to do this and be a part of it.
There was some begging involved, yeah.
Well, Beth and I, we talked about...
on my part.
We talked about, maybe leveraging the location. It's Columbus. I mean, when you look out, when we're recording, we're looking at Columbus for Columbus local music, and it just really, it's a natural fit, Mike. It really is.
It's a wonderful place to be. And music is amazing, and I encourage everyone to get out and support local music and live music in Columbus.
As we all should, and love those venues too. Supporting them. During the times that there's no music is also important.
Sure.
Keeps them rolling and keeps them, interested in getting a chance for some of the.
Well, during COVID, it was difficult for musicians and for venues, and some of us were able to do some stuff from home and put it online. And I have a couple of songs that I couple Kenny Rogers songs that I did, and I've got quite a repertoire. I keep adding music to my repertoire. I've almost got 1,200 songs that I can do on a solo basis, and a lot of that is helping me learn to play the guitar better, and it's also nice when you're out at a venue and somebody requests a song and you're able to play it for them.
Yeah, for sure. And you do have quite a repertoire. I was trying to get you to throw me a number.
I didn't
but
really
I don't
know
that you know how many songs you know.
I didn't really know I knew that many songs until I started going, okay, today I was working on Alabama. Okay, how many Alabama songs do I know? And how many Alabama songs can I work up? Because I love Alabama. I saw them in concert at the Polaris there when that amphitheater was there, and I saw them, and I knew almost every song. And I like to go see McGuffey Lane also, and John and I are friends. John Schwab and I are friends with McGuffey Lane, and I always sit right in front of him, and he's singing the song, and I'm singing it back to him the whole time. And he goes, "Mike, you know all the words of all our songs." I said, "You're right," because when I was at that camp experience, when I was at Virginia Tech, I was at a Easter Seals camp, and I was a counselor at an Easter Seals camp, and it's where I kind of wrote some of my songs, and I wrote a song called "Bands for Love." And all during the camping experience with these people that were, challenged. A lot of them had cerebral palsy. They were ages from 15 all the way up to 80 years old. And each camper was assigned to a counselor was assigned to a camper, and they took care of them for a week and a half. And while I was working with my pal Timmy, who was my camper that I was working with, I had this song in my head about the experience. And at the end of the camp experience, the song in my head, I wrote down on paper. I asked the camp director if I could perform the song for the campers. So, for the counselors, and the campers had left, and the counselors were just there waiting to leave. And he asked me if I wanted to sing the song. So I sang the song. All Kinds of Love is the name of the song, and it really went over great with the campers. They really connected to it. And then after the camp experience was over, the director asked me to come in and make a recording of that song. I did, and they used that song in the 1982 National Easter Seals Convention in New Orleans as the theme song for the entire
That's
convention.
So awesome.
Yeah, it was fun.
That's so awesome. And you continue to write, Mike, don't you?
Well, I try. When you're a lovesick teenager or 25-year-old, it's a little easier to write songs than all the experiences that you had as a senior citizen that I am now. So it's a little harder to connect some of these things. But there are some great songwriters that I know and some great things. And I have a few songs that I'd like to get recorded. And hopefully before too long, I'll get something out. Some originals.
We'll definitely be looking for those, Mike. And, good luck with that, too. That's a lot of fun, too, especially in the winter months.
It is, and especially how people, like the songs or react to them, and
yeah, it's good stuff. And there's lots of technology out there to help.
You sure? Last year when I retired, I bought one of those music composition things, and you can put all this stuff together on your own. It's still sitting there on my desk, and hopefully this year I'll be able to put some things together. And I have a great friend, Stephen Brunton, who does a lot of that work. And I keep leaning on Steve to help me figure out how to get this done. And so Steve has a lot of great original music. He plays all the instruments, and he does a lot of cover stuff, but it's all in his own unique fashion. And I encourage everybody to go on the SoundCloud, I think it is most of what the stuff that he has on there. And it's really cool stuff. And Steve is a wonderful guy, and he's a great musician.
That's good to hear. Definitely. Yeah, we'll have to check that out. And we are definitely going to check out your forthcoming original music. I'm going to keep encouraging you to do so.
Oh, thank you, Len.
And I'll share my knowledge of how to get that stuff out onto some of the streaming platforms if you'd like that. You may have other resources, obviously, but it sounds like Steven might be your man, though.
Well, I don't know. Steve's busy.
Well,
I have to rely on myself to get this done.
If they're too busy, I'll share whatever I know. I've got some stuff out there.
Well, I appreciate that.
Not big stuff, but it's it's a start. I'm gonna try to. I wrote it a long time ago when I was trying to break my sword, and it's out there, and I can show you some of those options.
Well, that's great. I need somebody to help me with posters and media because every one of my promotional posters looks like a ransom note. It's just terrible. I need somebody that has some really IT skills and some artistic ability to help me put something together.
Well, I don't know if you've seen some of the Days Gone By posters, but I was in charge of those.
Oh, man. Okay.
You're talking to somebody that might be able to help you.
Well, I want to put together a promotional poster for this concert series that we're doing out at Pickerington next summer. So I could use your help with that as well.
I'd be happy to do it.
Wow.
I do have time. I'm not retired. I do have a day job, but and the podcast is not so absorbing that I don't have time for other stuff. I do have a lot of spare time.
Well, great. I'll use you.
You can.
Dude, I'll use you up.
And I'll play that guitar part for you too.
There you go.
The bass line.
Maybe you can help me with a few licks.
I'd love to, man.
Yeah.
Love to.
Love the way you play guitar.
Oh, I appreciate that. I really do. We'll look forward to that forthcoming. You've heard that from Mike. We're going to encourage him to do so. And I think for tonight, again, I appreciate your time, Mike, so much.
Well, thank you, Lynn, and thank for all you do for the Central Ohio music community. And it's just another great example of musicians helping musicians and people that love music to be able to identify and connect more with each other.
Yeah, and the people that, bring them joy. It's all about keeping the positive energy rolling.
Exactly.
And leaving the other stuff behind.
Leave all your cares and worries on the doorstep.
Thank you, man. So episode number 45 with Columbus Local Podcast, Mike Preisser. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
And thanks for listening. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.